And one of the most disappointing things about my job is sometimes, I mean, some of the movies, some of the stuff that I've done, movies and telly, that I've not even ended up in the final edit of, I found really upsetting, because often the part that I play, which isn't often the main plot, I'm the fat guy that runs the bar. That's what I play. You know what I mean? I play the landlord, or the builder, or the policeman, or whatever, and not normally main plot. A lot of those, I'm normally in a side story, in a side shoot, in a digression in the script quite often, and that's often the first thing to get cut.
To get cut.
Yeah, to end up on the cutting room floor. I mean, I've done movies that I would have loved to have been. There was a film.
They still pay you, but then you get cut.
Yeah, but you get your day rate, but you're not doing it for that. You're doing it for the
there we go. More than a job.
Bit of money, bit of money that comes in a royalty and all the rest of it. Yeah, but you're doing it. Of course. I did a film with Billy Connolly, the great Scottish comedian Billy Connolly. I don't know whether you know him. No, one of the funniest human beings on the planet. I mean,
I have to look him up. What's his name?
Billy Connolly.
Billy Connolly.
Fantastically funny man. And he's not well now. He's got Parkinson's. And but he's doing okay, I think. And probably one of the most famous comedians in this country. And he did quite well in Hollywood. He did a lot of movies. I did a movie with him in the mid-90s that I just adored, and it was like working with, if it would be like a bass player working with Paul McCartney, or a drummer working with, Jeff Porcaro. It was just working with this guy was just heaven, and he was lovely. He was so lovely and so kind and so delicious to work with, and brilliant and funny and all the things. He was everything I wanted him to be and more. He was kind. He laughed at my jokes, which he didn't need to. At the end, at the end of the day, he would be. So often when you're at my, I'm not number one on the call sheet. I'm normally like number 10, number 11 if I'm lucky. And so that means that when all the principal photography is done, quite often you'll be left with, and you've still got a close up to do. Some of the big stars that I've worked with, they've gone, they've buggered off. They're in the car, they're going back to the hotel. And you end up doing your close-up to a tape mark on a lighting stand, doing your lines with the first AD reading the lines out. That's what you get. Billy, bless him, he was bringing me cups of soup in this cemetery in Edinburgh at midnight. He was lovely. But having done all that...
Penny Dreadful, or no?
No, that was a thing called Deacon Brodie, it was called. Okay. And that's... If it was now, I would have got the credit. It was just pre-internet, you know what I mean? They cut me out of it, and I was so upset that I'd lost that. Because I loved every minute of it. And I've done other jobs like that where you've given your life and soul for it, and you've thought, you're not there for the money.
That's another thing. That's another thing. Like, I have this theory about talent, which is related to... I think talent is related to having the capacity to keep practicing, keeping at it, almost in a way like you don't have a choice. Like, you got to keep doing it. It's part of who you are, And some people think that talent is just like, you're born and you're so talented and stuff just happens. It's like, I think talent is also having the patience to keep at it. As you mentioned, the rejection things, So I think there's an aspect of that there. Like, it hurts you when, I suppose some people are like, nah.
Yeah, no, it's horrible.
And then some people stop.
I remember getting the letter from the producer saying, very well-known producer, we absolutely loved your work, and it was nothing to do with your performance. We just decided that, for time constrictions, we had to lose that strength. Now, that's so often the case. I mean, I've done, quite big series on the TV, naming no names, where instead of having my story, they've decided to go with the handsome guy on the horse and the girl with the big cleavage, and because that's what people want to see. That sells. Yeah, sex and violence sell more than the fat bloke doing the routine, and you know what I mean. That's the way it works, and I know that. But sometimes it really pisses you off because you've done good work.
Did you tell me one of these days that they changed your face with AI or something like that? Or
that was a weird.
Wow.
That was a weird. But that was a weird. Yeah, that was a weird corporate thing.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, that was a weird corporate thing. A big American firm
Really?
Because sometimes we do corporate stuff.
If we want us to cut this, we can cut it.
No. Can I have some more water?
Yes, of course, of course. We're going to edit this. So if there's something you don't want
No, that was it. No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Actors in this country, I don't know what it's like in the States, we do what are known as corporates.
like,
Working for companies.
okay.
So
Like
safety films,
I see.
training
Not
films.
commercials.
No, training films. So there's in-house usage. okay?
in-house usage. I see.
Anyway, and sometimes live corporate stuff where we'll go to a conference and do something, a performance at a conference.
Oh,
So
I see. To
there's a whole
show
little
something,
side
to
industry
teach
there.
something, yeah.
Training videos, safety videos. I've done all sorts of things, This was an American corporate thing that showed up. And it was a vanity project where they had the office, or the various offices throughout the States decided they were going to do a musical presentation for the big conference in LA that summer.
Oh my
And they
God.
weren't going to do songs from the shows. I think there were a few, friends of Dorothy that decided it would be a fantastic idea to do so. Let's do some musical theatre. It'll be fantastic. So they did this thing, and they did some songs from Rent and stuff, and they tried to shoot it, and then they realised they couldn't do it because they couldn't sing and they couldn't dance.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing. Yeah.
So my
Oh
agent,
my
I know.
God.
So I'd found out about this thing, and my agent had a few people on this job, good actors, West End, proper musical actors. And what they'd done is they'd used these West End actors to do these songs and these dance routines, working to a playback, click track in the studio. And they did all the moves and all the singing and all the vocals and everything like that. And then they grafted on the various people's heads.
Oh
they
my
AI'd
God. The corporate
the corporate
people.
guys' heads onto these people, giving it, look at me, I can do this.
Oh
I'm here.
my
Isn't it marvelous? Air grab. Super.
To deceive the people?
So
Or
this was going to be the
try.
presentation. I don't know whether it was an in-joke or not. Anyway, the guy that I was playing,
Oh my
it was during COVID this was done. He had said, yeah, I'll do this. And he'd sent in some pictures for them to use to AI to use the face to put onto the actor. And the actor they used was this thin, tall guy. And then they got this picture and they went, someone's been eating the pies over COVID. Do you know what I mean? Someone's had a few corn dogs, So they thought, and my agent explained the situation. Anyway, they want a fat bloke to do it instead. So I ended up doing this thing, and then they melded on this fat guy's head onto me. I may not be fat, larger chap. So yeah, I ended up doing this whole routine, and they AI'd me into this thing. But see, that's happening more and more. You just do stuff. In fact, there's a big. I just last night signed a petition, an equity, our union.
Okay.
We've got a big fight against AI at the moment.
Yeah.
We've had 2 strikes now, and it's just.
I've heard about I heard about the big one in Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
There was a big thing in writers as well, and now it's happening in the. Can you tell me a bit about this? How is it? There's 2 strikes that has
Yeah,
happened.
as far as I know, the studios have asked actors, and more importantly, I think, supporting artists at the moment, that when they turn up for the casting for the job, they sign away the rights to their face. They're saying, and so that face can now be stored and it can just be used in perpetuity in whatever they want. So when they need a crowd of 1,000 people on the Titanic or in the Circus Maximus in some whatever,
They can
just
take
do
one of them.
and just knit together all these faces.
Real
And,
faces.
These real faces.
Yes, real faces.
Because they've got it all, I don't know, scanned from every angle, I suppose, and they can just, the technology's there to do that, and they're starting to do that again with actors. I think that they will try and reuse our performances in various ways.
Have you
without
signed?
fairness. Oh yeah, there's a petition
You have
against
to.
it at the moment. Oh yeah. There's a
If
massive
not, you
fight
lose your
against it.
job. You lose your job. You
Do you know what? In the long run, we won't have any choice.
Wow.
There won't be a choice. You know what it's like.
Yeah, I know what it's like. I studied
Bastard
this.
companies will get what they want. It's
Jesus
all about
Christ.
more and more and more and more and more. My job, it's changed. It's not bad now actually, with the onset of Netflix and Amazon and there's because there's more being produced in a way, but it's about the money now. It never used to be. When you turned up for a job, when I first started doing television and film, you could live on the expenses alone without touching your wages. It was, it was well paid. It was everything was paid for. You could blag all sorts of stuff. You know, if you needed a hire car, they'd pay for it. If your back went, you pay for the chiropractor. You know,
Okay.
There was always a good budget, you know, for that.
Protection.
Yeah, and stuff. But now it's all about the bottom line. It's all about, every penny is counted now, and it's changed things, and it's kind of removed the artisticness of it in a way. You know what I mean? It is less. I think as actors, you feel less appreciated. You know what I mean? It's a
Completely.
it's a strange place now. I'm not complaining because they still employ me now and then, but it is very different.
It's a different landscape completely.
Yeah, it is. And I, you know, anyone going to drama school now, coming out of drama school, I think that it's not easy. You know, when I left drama school, you could get a job in a theatre and learn your craft within the first 2 seasons working in the theatre, doing lots of, you know, you might do 6 plays in 6 months, you know.
They would teach
theatre,
you, they would invest
you'd
in
learn,
you.
and you'd be learning on the job and da-da-da. But now the theatres are all closed. You know, they're dark because the funding was removed. Most towns don't now have a theatre, you know.
So here's another philosophical insight. I'm studying right now with a group of my students, Nietzsche, and his first book is called The Birth of Tragedy.
Okay.
And he speaks about, well, he develops this theory about the Apollonian and the Dionysiac. You know, Apollo, the god of the sun, and Dionysius, the god of wine.
Okay.
And out of the ways that they produce energy and clash, tragedy comes up as an art form which is both Apollonian and Dionysiac. In the end, he starts to make a criticism. He criticizes the classical period of ancient Greeks because everything started to become too Apollonian. So they stopped having so much of the more savage and artistic side, which would be Dionysius, okay? And in the end, the art world in Greece started to decay. And he blames that, the decay of theaters, the proper decay of Attic tragedy, that's what it was called. As it started to go down, he argues that that's the reason that Athens and in the end Greece end up in decay.
Destroyed, yeah.
He argues because the social psychology and culture started to decline. Now that you're saying this, how does this affect, you know, I'm sure there's an impact. Are there statistics of, like the fall of a nation?
I think the moment you start to sanitize things, or the moment you start doing anything simply for profit.
Sanitize,
to remove, to take the guts out of it, to take the reality, to take, you know, to literally sanitize, to make it germ free, to make it, you know,
to censor it,
to sanitize, to make us seem like, you know, to portray us, you know, you can see what's happening in the States now. Everything is sanitized. Everything's being sanitized to a degree that we're not. You know, artists aren't allowed to speak out about issues for fear of, you know,
repercussion,
cancellation,
cancellation culture.
Cancellation, yeah.